Hi everyone, and welcome to the last day of the month of romance. So today we're going to talk about my romance conversion kit, which is me trying to give some advice on where to start, maybe with different kind of like lead-in points to romance, because the genre is huge, it's massive. There's like no one be-all end-all intro book for everybody. So I broke it down into some things that I thought might be good ways to start out, whether you are interested or maybe somebody you know is interested. Now, giving book recommendations is like one of the scariest things I ever do, because I'm always scared people are gonna hate it and then they're gonna think I'm a horrible person, but whatever, I'm gonna try. Also, I haven't read, like, as these videos have shown, I haven't read every author, I haven't read every book. I don't think I could. I think I could literally read for the rest of my life and never read every romance novel published. And that's okay. So I'm sure there might be other recommendations, but based on my experience and my reading base, this is what I would recommend. So let's get started. So let's just do like general recommendations for like the two big genres, like subgenres that I feel like I have some ability to give advice on. So for historical, if you were just looking for like good intro authors, I would recommend Tessa Dare or Julia Quinn. You can kind of start anywhere with them. With Tessa Dare, I would you really could go anywhere. I would probably start with Castles Ever After series, whatever the Duchess Deal, the series name escapes me at this moment, but the Duchess Deal is the first book, or Spindle Cove. Spindle Cove was my first, I think, so I have like a little bit of fondness in my heart, but I know the Duchess Deal, her current series, is like really doing well and people are loving it, as am I. So that could be a good place to start. For Julia Quinn, I hesitate to say start with the Bridgertons, just because I think Anna, what's that book called? The Duke and I. The Duke and I has some questionable moments in it, in my opinion, so I wouldn't necessarily want that to be somebody's first romance novel ever. But maybe you have the added bonus of it becoming a Netflix series, so that might convince people. So in that case, if you think that's the kind of person they are, maybe start with the Bridgertons. But personally, I'm a huge fan of like the What Happens in London. I think that's a great book, and it's not super sexy, so if somebody's a little standoffish about that, that's a pretty good one. And really that whole series, so that one, The Secret Diaries of Miss Miranda Cheever, like all of those I think are really good places to start as well. For contemporary, I would say I'm going to recommend a book instead of an author, because I've only read one book by her, and that is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I do think that's a really good book. Additionally, Julie James. I haven't read her in the last couple years, which oversight on my part, but I think she's a really good, solid contemporary author, and she has some that are a little suspensey with like FBI elements, and then others that are just more traditional contemporaries. But I think she's another really good intro, and she is really good at writing like confidence or competence porn, where like her characters are very knowledgeable, they know what they're doing, and personally I like reading that, and I think a lot of other readers do too. So now let's get into some more specific recommendations. So first is if you're kind of like a Jane Austen fan. So if you really like Jane Austen, who I would recommend are people like Lisa Kleypas. You know your girl had her, I'll talk about Lisa Kleypas. Sarah McLean and Beverly Jenkins. Now, I've only read one Beverly Jenkins book, so I know that this may seem like a weird recommendation, but from what I know about her, I stand by this recommendation. So the reason I specifically recommended these three authors in reference to Jane Austen is not just because they write historicals, although they do. I do know Beverly Jenkins has written some contemporary suspense, but she's primarily known for historicals. Is because all three of these authors have a lot of social commentary in their books, and discussions about like class and places in society, and that is a huge part of Austen's books in my opinion. So I feel like the recommendation holds. And with those authors, Beverly Jenkins, I could not tell you where to start because, like I said, I've only read one of her books, so I am not the person to ask for that. With Sarah McLean, I would probably start with one of her last 2 series, although all of her books are good in my opinion. With Lisa Kleypas, I don't know. Probably The Wallflowers, I think, would be the best. Maybe The Hathaways, but I think The Wallflowers might be the best. Next is, do you like Hallmark movies? Then I would recommend Jill Shalvis or Shannon Stacy. Jill Shalvis tends to write pretty light and fluffy, a lot of small town romance, so that's what I think of when I think of Hallmark movies. Shannon Stacy has some of that. She has like her Kowalski Brothers or Kowalski Family series, and I do think her Boston Fire series, it is a lot of times has a little bit more serious tone than you would expect from a Hallmark movie, but it has a lot of the same elements. Like, even though it takes place in Boston, it feels kind of small, and you have like these like tight-knit communities, which I think of when I think of Hallmark movies. If you like less intense romance, or you're still a little apprehensive about the genre, I would recommend Gail Carriger. I think her books, if they were ever nominated for a Rita, if they had been, I'm sorry, but they would probably be nominated in the category where it's like with strong romantic elements. I think this is where Deanna Rayburn's books get recommended. We'll get there. These are primarily steampunk paranormal books, but they do have a romance element running through them, at least all of the ones I have ever read. So I think that there's like a nice balance there if you're just trying to like slowly increase your romance exposure. Speaking of somebody, do you like mysteries but you want a little bit more romance? I'd recommend Deanna Rayburn. I've only read her Veronica Speedwell books, but I know, what is the other one's called? I can't remember. I'm so sorry. I'm a horrible person. But I'm not a big mystery person, and I really enjoyed those stories with the mystery element plus the characters. The romance is really cute. It's gonna be like so slow burning, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna hate myself, but it's fine. I'm gonna love it and hate it at the same time. But I think she's a good place to start. I know Jennifer Ashley is starting to do mystery as well. I have not read them yet though, so can't recommend. Finally, do you like CW shows that are dramatic, have the feel of a soap opera? Then I would recommend my girls Krista and Becca Ritchie, of course. If you're looking for something that's a little easier to digest than maybe a full series and getting invested with like the Addicted series, I'd recommend a More and More. It'll still give you those CW over-the-top dramatic vibes, but it can be read as a standalone. Or somebody like Colleen Hoover. Of course, her books are tons of like shock and surprise and rah. That's what I think of as Colleen Hoover. Or Serena Bowen. Especially things like her Ivy Year series I think fit really well in with this type of style. And they have really solid characters and friend groups, which is what I love in my stories. So these are just some of my recommendations. Maybe I'll try to do more of these in the future, and I'll try to continue to expand my reading so that I can make more recommendations and get more specific and more detailed with this, and make this more of a regular thing. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be what it'll be. I think I'm losing my mind. If you have any recommendations or you disagree or anything like that, feel free to leave them down below so other people can check it out. And thank you so much for watching the whole month of romance. There is a playlist if you missed any videos and you want to check them out. This has been tons of fun. It's been very stressful. This is a lot of videos to film, edit, and upload, but I'm really glad I finally pushed myself to do this, and not every video was necessarily what I hoped it would be. Some of these I would love to redo or like do more in depth at another time, but I'm overall happy with what this month was, And if you watched any of the videos, thank you so much for coming here and watching them. I really, really do appreciate it, as does the Murphy cat. You know, he really does appreciate it. Do you want to say bye? Say bye. Okay, don't say bye. Oh, he's stuck on me. Sorry, Murphy. Sorry. But yep, that is it. That is the end of the month of romance, and I will be back at some point in the next week with a new video. It'll probably be my February wrap up. So I will see you then. Bye.